Ever wondered what a Roman emperor had for dinner, or what a medieval peasant survived on? The story of food is the story of humanity itself. It's a tale of survival, innovation, power, and pleasure. Join me as we journey back in time to explore the kitchens and tables of the past, from ancient feasts to humble hearts. This isn't just about what people ate, it's about how food shaped their entire world. Let's start our journey in ancient Rome. Imagine walking through a bustling Roman market. The air is thick with the smell of spices from the east, fresh fish from the Mediterranean, and bread baking in nearby ovens. For the wealthy, life was a culinary dream. Their tables groaned under the weight of exotic dishes: roasted peacock, flamingo tongues, and dormice stuffed with honey and nuts. Banquets were extravagant affairs, lasting for hours, with endless courses designed to impress and display immense wealth. Wine, often sweetened with honey, flowed freely. It was a spectacle of excess. But for the vast majority of Romans, the plebeians, life was very different. Their diet was simple, often monotonous. The cornerstone was pulse, a thick porridge made from grains like spelt or barley. This was supplemented with whatever was cheap and available: olives, cheese, some vegetables like cabbage and onions, and occasionally a small piece of salted fish. Meat was a rare luxury. For them, food wasn't about pleasure. It was purely about survival, about getting enough calories to work another day. This stark contrast in diets perfectly mirrored the deep social divides of the Roman Empire. Now let's fast forward a few centuries to the Middle Ages in Europe. The feudal system dominated society, and just like in Rome, what you ate depended entirely on who you were. Let's picture a medieval castle. In the Great Hall, a lord's banquet is underway. The air is smoky from the huge central fireplace where whole boars and deer are roasting on spits. The tables are laden with meat pies, roasted swans, and elaborate jellies called subtleties, molded into fantastic shapes. Spices like cinnamon, cloves, and pepper, incredibly expensive and brought overland from Asia, were used lavishly, not just for flavor, but as a blatant symbol of status. If you could afford spices, you were someone important. They drank ale and wine from pewter or even silver goblets. Meanwhile, just outside the castle walls, a peasant family gathers for their evening meal. Their home is a simple one-room hut with an earthen floor. Their dinner is pottage, a thick vegetable stew that was constantly simmering over the fire with new ingredients added daily. It might contain peas, beans, and root vegetables grown in their small garden. Bread was a staple, but it was a coarse, dark loaf made from rye or barley, not the fine white bread the Lord enjoyed. Meat was almost non-existent, except for perhaps a bit of bacon for flavor, or what they could poach from the Lord's forest at great risk. Their lives were tied to the seasons and the harvest. A bad harvest didn't just mean a smaller feast, it meant starvation. The age of exploration, starting in the 15th century, completely revolutionized the world's dinner plate. Explorers like Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Magellan weren't just looking for new lands. They were looking for new trade routes for spices and new sources of wealth. This Columbian exchange triggered a global transfer of plants and animals that changed diets forever. Imagine European kitchens before this era. There were no potatoes, no tomatoes, no corn, no chili peppers, and no chocolate. It's hard to even picture Italian food without tomatoes or Irish food without potatoes, but that was the reality. From the Americas, Europe received these incredible new ingredients. The potato, initially met with suspicion, eventually became a staple for the working class across Northern Europe, fueling population growth. Tomatoes transformed the cuisines of the Mediterranean. Corn, or maize, became a vital crop in parts of Europe and Africa. And of course, cacao gave the world chocolate, which started as an expensive drink for aristocrats before becoming a beloved treat for everyone. In the other direction, Europe brought wheat, grapes, cattle, pigs, and chickens to the Americas, reshaping the landscape and the diets of the indigenous populations. This exchange was one of the most significant events in the history of food, creating the interconnected global cuisine we know today. As we move into the 18th and 19th centuries, the Industrial Revolution brought another wave of massive change. People flocked from the countryside to rapidly growing cities to work in factories. This created a new problem: How to feed a massive urban population that no longer grew its own food. This challenge sparked incredible innovation. The development of canning, pioneered by Nicolas Appert in France, meant that food could be preserved for long periods and transported over great distances. Suddenly, people in a London slum could eat meat packed in America or fruit canned in the countryside. Refrigeration technology was another game changer. The invention of refrigerated railway cars and ships, known as reefers, meant that fresh meat from Argentina or Australia could be shipped to Europe, making it more affordable for the working classes. The rise of factories also led to the mass production of food. Branded goods, like biscuits, jams, and sauces, began to appear on shop shelves. This was the birth of the modern food industry. While it made food more accessible and varied for many, it also began to distance people from the source of their food. No longer did you know the farmer who grew your vegetables or the baker who made your bread. You bought it in a package from a shop, and that brings us to the 20th and 21st centuries. The pace of change has only accelerated. The post-World War II era saw the rise of the supermarket, which put an unprecedented variety of foods under one roof. It was the age of convenience. Frozen TV dinners, instant cake mixes, and fast food restaurants promised to save time in the kitchen. The Green Revolution in the mid-20th century saw the development of high-yield crops that dramatically increased the world's food supply, helping to feed a booming global population. However, this era of abundance has brought its own set of challenges. The focus on processed and convenience foods has been linked to a rise in chronic health issues. The industrial scale of modern agriculture has raised serious questions about environmental sustainability, animal welfare, and the loss of biodiversity. We are more disconnected than ever from how our food is produced. But there is a growing counter-movement. People are increasingly interested in where their food comes from. Farmers' markets are thriving. There's a renewed passion for home cooking and baking, and terms like organic, local, and sustainable are now part of our everyday vocabulary. We are beginning to realize that food is more than just fuel. It's culture, it's community, it's health, and it's pleasure. From the simple grain porridge of a Roman plebeian to the complex globally sourced meal on our tables today, the journey of food is a mirror to our own history.